Greetings Internet, DDA here, and I know what you all are missing. You all are missing the RNG deck profiles that we love to make for you and we have become known for. A new set, Secrets of Power, being revealed and released means that it's time for us to do another wave of first look deck profiles where we are taking new leaders and old leaders and updating them with the new cards and taking that first look, untested, but nevertheless, using the experience that we've gained over the past 5 sets in this game. And hey, you're talking to a top 10 competitor in Star Wars Unlimited. So these are patented approved, RNG approved decks. We're taking a first look at these leaders and seeing what we can do with them. So if you follow the channel, my wife, she loves Cassian. We actually just started watching Andor, so we are getting into that. But she loves Cassian, and I know that she's going to want to use this leader. So my first thought was, okay, well, I got to help her. I got to brew a Cassian deck for her. And my first thought when I looked at this leader, well, obviously, he's an aggressive leader. He has some conflicting things about him, right? He's an aggressive leader, but his power doesn't add damage, or at least it doesn't add damage in an obvious way. It adds kind of damage in a way that prevents your opponent from killing your own units. So what's going to be good with this Cassian? If you look at his front leader side, you see that you're going to want to constantly be thinking about action economy with this new Cassian, because you're going to want to not only send your units into the base to do damage to the base in order to prevent them from being attacked, but also that's going to be not only one of the first actions that you want to do, but also your ability to do that either in front of your opponent or make the most use of a small number of actions is highlighted with the Cassian ability. So you might think to yourself, well, a tall strategy would be good with Cassian, and you're not wrong. If you can just do a large number of damage into the base and then prevent your opponent from attacking that unit, it can get pretty dicey for your opponent. So there is some potential there. To go for more of a tall strategy with Cassian. Yeah, that's definitely there. I didn't go in that direction because I felt like I wanted to, I've been punished a lot with tall strategies. And the thing about going tall is that if you think about it, you can't really go tall against blue because they have the removal. You can't really go tall against yellow because they have the exhausting and the bouncing. So that's like 50% of the colors that you can't go tall against. So that's why pilots are really strong, because pilots allow you to go tall, but also go wide in the matchups that you can't go tall in. So keep that in mind. You definitely can use a taller strategy because, again, you get that action economy, send in a large number of damage in a single action. So the thing that I first gravitated towards with Cassian was yellow because I was thinking, okay, burst damage. I'm going to want to just burst my opponent down, rush my opponent down, and the best color to do that is yellow. I found while I was building it, and as I get into this, there are some... I don't really know if yellow is giving Cassian enough, especially because I felt like we still wanted to run for a cause I believe in here. Cassian goes really well with the Rebel package. He is a Rebel. Also, Rebels allow you to gain action economy in 2 different ways. Rebels allow you to gain action economy with Fleet Lieutenant, allowing you to play a unit and simultaneously attack with either your Cassian leader or something else. And then additionally, Rebels give you action economy in Rebel Assault. Now you can see how strong Rebel Assault is in here because it is well worth 3. Shout out to Harrison for pointing out an obvious flaw in my first versions of this deck. Rebel Assault needs to be in here because it helps Cassian burst. It gives you that action economy that you need to get in those actions, to those attacks, to prevent your units from being destroyed. Gives you extra damage. It is well worth 3 in many, many ways. Every single unit in here is a Rebel. Yeah, I don't think... Oh, no, except the Millennium Falcon, right? But that makes sense. We want Millennium Falcon in there for the burst damage, so it's okay that that's not a rebel. One thing that Cassian kind of... and I've come to know this because I play a lot of later deploy leaders. In fact, I don't actually think I've really played a 5 deploy leader ever in the game. So I play a lot of 6 and 7 deployed leaders. And if you play a lot of 6 and 7 deployed leaders, you know that it takes a long time to get there sometimes. Especially when you're talking about an aggro build where you're going to want to push damage. And sometimes you can just simply kill your opponent before you even flip. So it puts you in this weird spot where... you kind of ask yourself, am I an aggro deck? I'm actually kind of more mid-range, and that's what you have to think about Cassian. He is an aggressive style of play, an aggressive build, but his 6 leader deploy makes him slower than pretty much every other aggro deck. So keeping that in the back of your mind, knowing that he's going to be a slower leader than other aggro decks, we have to make some choices that help us slow down the game just a little bit against the other aggro decks. So one of the choices that we do make that I think does help promote yellow and help us slow down the game a little bit is the inclusion of Leia Organa in here. She's a rebel. She's also going to allow you to both go wide and slow down the opponent. And also keep in mind, units with lower HP in general in Cassian, you can squeak a little bit more value out of them, because if you do manage to get that damage in, maybe you use a Rebel Assault or a Fleet Lieutenant, you can, they can't be attacked then. So, lower HP units or more fragile units in general are going to be stronger in Cassian because they have that protection. And we see that here also with Red 3, Red 3 is a card that a lot of people dropped out and a lot of people went down on with cards like Blue Leader and just the general, the ability for, space decks to kind of control the space arena. Red 3 was a card that was very, very weak statted for 3, very low stats for 3, but has an incredibly powerful ability. So it was always worth the cost. It never, people dropped it out of lists, not because the card became not worth it or obsolete. It's because the arena got more contested, and then the low stats of that card got highlighted, right? So, but Cassian kind of fills that weakness of the card and of all cards that may have lower stats or lower HP because of his ability. Another card that helps you slow down the game a little bit while still maintaining that aggressive style is Spare the Target. Spare the Target, of course, great card for slowing down the game, only costs 3. So it really allows you to make some choices while potentially letting you still push value on the board with, say, a low-cost unit or something like that, or a low-cost event, but also still a heroism card. If we want to maintain that for a cause I believe in to close, which is, I think, very important for Cassian. I think it's very important, because we got the Rebel synergy. A lot of them are heroism units. You're going to be pushing an aggressive strategy. That for a cause I believe in is going to be that last little bit of damage you need to close the game. So there aren't many kind of heroism cards that allow you to play tricks on your opponent to slow down the game. Leia is one. Spare the Target is another one that is both heroism and slows down the game for you, getting you to that Cassian deploy so you can push in the final damage that you need. Everyone knows about the Cinta Combo with Cassian, I think, at this point. I did want to mention it because it's so cornerstone to the deck. Deploy Cassian, plot Cinta, immediately attack with Cassian. Then, again, I talked about previously, action economy. Cinta is excellent for action economy. She is worth going down on the heroism count. There are only 4 non-heroism cards in this deck, 4 potential misses for a cause I believe in. I think that's fine, given the power of the cards that we do play that are not heroism. Cinta is huge. Again, action economy. I'm going to keep saying it because it's so important for Cassian, which is what makes Rebel Assault worth 3 in this deck. A card that I kind of threw in here that I want to test out, and I don't really know if it's good or not, is the Tala Durith. Taladurinth. I think there's some potential here for some trickiness because Cassian's power can't really activate on units that you initially play, right? So they can still be attacked when you first play them before you've had a chance to do damage to the base. But she would help you get around that. It's an interesting card, and also could help you give you some extra sturdiness with the Cassian deploy as well. Because I think what a lot of people are going to do against Cassian is as soon as you deploy, they're going to hit Cassian. He only has 2 HP. They're going to get 2 damage on him, and then they're going to fight you for initiative, right? So that's going to happen. So a lot, I think, with Cassian. So, you know, her having plot, and then, you know, if you don't find the Cinta, she's a fallback play. Giving Cassian hidden. Therefore, not only can they not attack Cassian initially, but then they also, like, they have to fight you for initiative. It makes, like, kind of 2 hoops that they have to jump through in order for them to defeat your units. I think in an aggressive style build, there's some value there. I want to test it. I'm not sure, though. But all of that being said, as I was building this deck, I noticed that yellow seemed okay. I didn't, you know, there's a lot of red in here, as well as the Rebel Assault for 3. I considered green, and green is there as well. One thing that green can do better than the decks that I'm going to show you here today, is, you know, the idea of ambush overwhelm is very powerful with Cassian. Ambush overwhelm, because Cassian is only checking for that the unit did damage to the base. So if you play a unit with ambush and overwhelm, which green has some examples of this, Mercenary Company, Steadfast Battalion can do it with Timely on the deploy turn. So there are some examples of, you know, ambush overwhelm that you can get in green that could potentially do some damage to the base, and then have them not be able to attack that unit then potentially giving you another huge swing in the next combat. So there's some synergy there. Plus, we're running Rebel Assault at 3 already, so you know that's there as well. Like, our ability to run that for 1. But, again, with the 6 deploy, I felt I wanted more sturdiness. I knew that yellow would give me a little bit of that sturdiness with the Leia and the Spare the Target. And then I realized this was mostly red anyway. So why not just play Cassian on the lake? Give yourself an extra 4 HP, a little bit more sturdiness. Take out the yellow because it's not really adding that much anyway. As soon as you sit down with Cassian, you know it's going to be a base race from the beginning of the game. Your opponent knows that. You know that. So why not just give yourself the highest HP in the game outside of Colossus, and then just race your opponent with the amazing red burst damage cards. And again, with that Rebel Assault for 3. There's just no reason for you to not play Rebel Assault for 3 in Cassian. I think every single Cassian deck needs 3 Rebel Assaults because of the action economy. Regardless of your color, right? And it just fits so well with the For a Cause I believe in, right? Like, you could add Heroic Sack in here, but why add Heroic Sack when they can't when they can't attack the unit after you damage the base? You kind of, like, your Heroic Sack was a card that you pushed, and then you got that damage in when you knew the unit was going to die already, or you knew, like, you got extra damage when you knew, you know, it was easy for your opponent to kill that unit. Well, you don't really need to worry about that because of Cassian's ability. So how does the mono-red Cassian look? Well, the mono-red Cassian looks like it's going to lean a little bit more into a discard strategy. That's the way it's going to slow down the game, right? So you owe it, again, with the 6 deployed leaders, you have to think, I know I need to slow down the game a little bit or I'm never going to deploy. That's how you got to think. So how is the mono red going to do that? The mono red is going to do that by leaning into K2SO, leaning into Chopper discard, and leaning into the new Lutheran's Hallcraft. Lutheran's Hallcraft is crazy strong, especially in a mono red deck. Crazy, crazy strong here. Your control friends are going to hate it. You're going to love it. 5 damage on 5 in space, and then if they kill it, they lose 2 cards. 2 cards is a whole turn. I need to be clear about this. 2 cards is an entire turn of value, okay? That kills a whole turn. As you get to the later stages of the game, you know, the cards that you draw are just so freaking important that losing 2 cards at that stage could be crippling. It could win you the game. So huge card there. Wasn't in the yellow version because I felt you had the burst damage with the Falcons and everything. But in the mono red, definitely has a spot. Another card I want to mention with this mono red strategy is the one way out card. Again, Cassian is only checking for you to do damage to the base, not that you attacked the base, right? So giving a unit Overwhelm, attacking, and then playing slower. Again, this slow, kind of grindy style of play. Give one of my units Overwhelm, kill a unit, do a little damage to the base, prevent my unit from being attacked then. I only have 1 copy in there for now. You can see they're in the sideboard. I just threw them in there. I'm really thinking about that card and Cassian because of its ability to give Overwhelm and then do damage to the base and save my unit. I really am thinking about that. And then, of course, the what is that? Nemec's Manifesto. These are all new cards. I haven't even looked at the full set list yet, right? So this is all new for me. But this card, very powerful for only 1 cost, giving 1 damage. Standard, right? Well, your opponent is going to be fighting you to defeat your units the entire game. And what better than to punish your opponent for doing the thing that they're going to have such a difficult time doing to start with? You know, let me get extra damage. Let me push all this damage, and then all of a sudden, well, if you kill that thing, I'm going to do an extra 3 or 4 damage to your base. Really great burst card. So these are cards that I'm testing out. Again, action economy, so important for this deck. Wanting to be able to do that taller strategy seems great. Another thing that one of my team members pointed out, Harrison, thank you, of the power of Agent Callus in here. Very apparent because, you know, on the deploy turn, you can go deploy Cassian, plot Cinta, attack with Cassian, then claim. So that's all 1 action, right? Well, 2 actions if you include the claim. 2 actions, instantly claim, 6 to base. Then you Callus, maybe you kill a unit, maybe you don't, but then now your Cinta and your Cassian have raid 2. Huge swing there, so there's a potential for you to drop the Gorilla for a second Callus. I worry about this deck's ability to go that late. I feel like the game is going to be pretty much sealed. As soon as you flip Cassian, the game is pretty much going to be decided then. Just because of the nature of the way that the deck is built, it's not control-y, right? Like you're not really going to be preventing damage being done to you. You're just going to be tanking damage with your late country, pushing in, preventing your opponent from attacking your units, and then sealing the game on Cassian flip. It's going to be a really fun deck. I'm excited to see what version of Cassian my wife decides to build. I built these as kind of an initial, again, first look for her to get her ideas moving. She may go back to green. Originally, she played Cassian green, so she may go back to green. And green definitely has some place. I think green is kind of the most obvious because of the Rebel Assault. So I wanted to show these kind of other takes on Cassian as my first looks and see what you thought. So, hey, stay tuned. We have so many number of first look deck profiles coming. I'm going to do the same style as I did in previous sets where I do a new leader and then an old leader and then a new leader. And I'm going to keep alternating like that to get these new leaders in here so you can see some strategy that I've been thinking about to use in the new set of Secrets of Power. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that bell, and stay tuned for all the best Star Wars Unlimited content.